officially back in session, legends. Welcome back to the Swifty Academy. Today, we are archiving the definitive, crowning installment of our Endgame Masterclass trilogy. We are opening up the nuclear reactor core on a frame that has been the foundational pillar of the universe since day one. Yet, it remains one of the most misunderstood scaling engines in the entire meta. The true queen of crowd control manipulation, Mag Prime. Now, if you browse through the standard community guides, most players treat Mag like a squishy, fragile glass cannon caster. They throw on the default survivability crutches, slap on a bit of range, and spend their time missions spamming panic buttons while praying their shields gates hold. They look at her baseline stat sheets and fail to see the deep mechanical architecture hiding right beneath the surface. But we don't do meta slop here. When you apply the 5 pillars of logic to Mag Prime, she transforms from a basic crowd control frame into an infinite self-sustaining shield generator, 100% permanent armor stripping machine, and an absolute dynamic nuke. Today, we are completely dismantling her engine room from the top to the bottom. I'm walking you through 4 highly specialized, well-flavored configurations that replaces her niche first ability to warp the battlefield to your heart's desire. Configuration 1 is our universal daily driver, leveraging Rhino's Roar to double dip the entire damage accumulation profile to the entire kit. Configuration 2 is the legendary infinite bubble layout using Xata's Whisper to break the game's bullet redirection math wide open. And then Configuration 3 is our unkillable utility setup running Grendel's Nourish for automated viral priming and bulletproof ANG loop. And finally, Configuration 4 is a pure nuke ability setup utilizing research to clear entire level cap rooms without even firing a single weapon. We are covering a massive matrix of custom arcanes, snapshot calculations, and companion synergies today, so clear out that slop, grab your notebooks, and let's dive straight into the underlying math of the magnetic matrix. To control the battlefield like a true veteran player, you must look past the visual noise and understand how Mag's underlying kit logic scales against high-level enemy configurations. Let's trace the baseline engine from her first ability to the ultimate ability. First, let's address the elephant in the room. Her first ability, Pull. Baseline Pull pulls enemies towards Mag, ragdolling them across the floor and occasionally grouping them up in a loose pile. In the current high-scaling endgame meta, this ability is incredibly niche, serving as little more than a tool to pull in loose loot and awkwardly drag a target across the room. It does absolutely nothing to solve her scaling requirements, which is exactly why it's a primary blank canvas. We are completely subsuming over it across all 4 custom layouts today. Okay. And then let's look at her passive. Nearby items gravitate towards Mag for easy collection, aka it's like loot for your companions essentially. Nothing fancy, nothing to it's nothing serious to not understand. It's very, very basic and straightforward. And then let's get on to the main stuff for today. Your 2 is Magnetized. This is absolutely the absolute core anchor of your offensive loops. Mag creates a localized magnetic sphere around a target, trapping them in place Any incoming projectiles, whether it's from your weapon or enemy fire, are automatically drawn into the center, spinning in a violent vortex. Crucially, a percentage of all weapon damage absorbed by the bubble is added directly into the continuous damage over time tick rate that shreds everything trapped inside before exploding violently when the duration ends. And then on to our 3. Polarize. Mag emits a rapid expanding energy wave that depletes enemy shields and armor while instantly restoring the shields of Mag and the surrounding allies. Any armor or shield points stripped by this wave are converted into lethal kinetic shards that float in the air, which are then violently drawn into your mag's magnetic bubbles to multiply their scaling damage metrics. And then her 4th, Crush. Magnetize the bones of nearby enemies, lifting them into the air and slamming them violently down into the ground to deal high impact damage. More importantly, every single enemy caught in this radius directly restores a massive chunk of shield to Mag and her squad, instantly regenerating a massive cushion of overshields that keeps your defensive perimeter completely locked down. Now, this is a baseline kit, is an exceptional foundation, but it reaches an elite level of in-game dominance the second you integrate primary augment modules. To unlock the true potential of Mag, we are sliding 2 non-negotiable augment pillars across every single layer today, which are the following: Fracturing Crush and Magnetized Discharge. Let's have a look. Fracturing Crush completely re-engineers your ultimate. It inflicts a massive casting speed debuff on enemies caught in the slam, but its the core mechanical rule states that it's a permanently armor strips a massive percentage of the target's base armor. And then Magnetized Discharge. Magnetized Discharge increases your total magnetized radius by 45%, which allows you to manually detonate your active bubbles by recasting the ability, and it gives your bullets a high chance to disarm enemies trapped inside. Now, let's talk about the absolute min-maxing health behind our stat configurations. To achieve a 100% permanent armor strip with Fracturing Crush, the game's engine dictates an absolute minimum threshold of 134 ability strength. If you sit below that number, you are leaving the enemy armor intact, which completely ruins your scaling damage output in the steel path. Now, look at the baseline stats on the screen right now. On the right side hand of the corner of the screen, you'll notice that we run the following: ability duration 170%, ability efficiency 100%, ability range 190%, ability strength 159%. At glance, 159 strength looks modest. It safely clears our 134 armor stripping threshold, but it doesn't look like an in-game stat nuke. But we do not do basic builds here. Watch how we multiply the snapshot mechanics of the game to send that stat into the stratosphere. By keeping our aura mod, growing power, active via a weapon status proc, we inject a flat increase into ability stats. When layered this with a fully stacked arcane mold augmented, which brings extra power over time as we secure kills. Finally, we utilize our utility weaponry like the Grimoire. Here's my build for the Grimoire. My bad. Here's the build for the Grimoire. And for the Grimoire, when its specialized strength activates, and Power Drain from a Parazon, which is this one, which rewards our next cast with massive strength buffer upon executing a Mercy Kill. Now, when you engage in a full loop and pull all these triggers simultaneously, your operational capability, your ability strength, doesn't just sit at 159%. It jumps comfortably to a staggering 354 ability strength engine. This is a massive surge that completely maximizes your shield restoring metrics and skyrockets the damage absorption multipliers of your magnetized bubbles. To keep this high casting reactor completely lubricated and safe from incoming fire, our Archon shot configuration is a full Tauforged luxury, tailored precisely to address her specific mechanical breakpoints. As you can see on screen, we run two Tauforged purple shards to configure for an equilibrium effect. This guarantees that every single health orb printed on the battlefield converts directly into raw energy capacity, while energy pickups top of your health pool, ensuring your active casting loop never hits a dry spell. And then finally, we have two red Tauforged red shards spread cleanly, one locked into ability duration to maximize the lifetime of your crowd control bubbles, and one locked into ability strength to solidify our baseline scaling boundaries. And then one Tauforged yellow shard to set entirely on casting speed. Mag has incredibly long, deliberate casting animations on Crush and Polarize, and setting stationary in a high-level steel path tile is an instant death sentence, so this shot keeps your animation shining, fluid, and lightning fast. For our survivability engine, we are completely bypassing the standard low-value health mods. Our primary defense is a hyper-accelerated shield-getting matrix driven by fast deflection, paired up with a high-rank arcane called Arcane Aegis, allowing our third and fourth ability effortlessly generate massive overshields, and to turn this into an unkillable perimeter, we are running our custom Worm Prime, which is a Sentinel as a dedicated defense asset. We are running two crucial precepts here: Guardian and Negate. Guardian states that the moment mag shields are completely depleted, your Sentinel instantly restores 100% of your shield capacity without zero delay, giving you a completely automated secondary shield gate. Meanwhile, Negate acts as a continuous status cleansing matrix, completely absorbing and neutralizing incoming status effects or knockdowns before they can disrupt your casting animations. It is pure zero slap protection. Up configuration 1, the Servian Roar Daily Driver. In this setup, we are subsuming Rhino's Roar directly over her first ability. This is our primary all-rounder configuration, built specifically to exploit how Mag's Magnetized bubble interacts with a universal faction modifiers. When you cast Magnetized on a target, the sphere absorbs a percentage of all weapon damage dealt inside and adds it directly to a continuous swirling damage over time tick rate. Because Rhino's Roar functions as a universal faction damage multiplier, it applies its bonus when your weapon hits an enemy inside the bubble, multiplies that damage again as it feeds into the bubble's internal accumulation math, and then multiplies a third time when the statistics or final detonates occur. Now, to demonstrate this interaction for pure fun and giggles, we are bringing out a classic high-intensity projectile weapon, the Exergis, a shotgun, paired up with the Sonic Core for a pure ragdoll entertainment, and the Praetos is already equipped as a passive utility static to maximize our parkour velocity. Now, the Exergis is an absolute mechanical monster when paired up with Mag. Um, and if you want to know what I'm going to run with specifically, let's have a look at the Exergis build. Don't mind the name, I changed it. It's nothing serious, okay? So, the Exergis is an absolute mechanical monster when paired up with Mag. It features an infinite natural punch-through against bodies of massive raw radiation damage. When you fire the Exergis round directly into Mag's magnetized sphere, that massive projectile doesn't just hit once and disappear. It gets trapped in the magnetized orbit, piercing through every single enemy trapped inside the vortex thousands of times per second. Now, when you layer this into action with a 354% snapshot raw, the resulting damage accumulation calculations becomes absolutely catastrophic. And yeah, it's insane. It is absolutely insane. To configuration 2. This is what I call the infinite bubble matrix. For this highly specialized layer, we are subsuming Zara's whisper directly over her first ability. This configuration is a brilliant display of non-linear build mechanics, designed to completely break the game's core projectile redirection code. Xata's Whisper inflicts bonus void damage on your weapon attacks, but its critically mechanical attribute is guaranteed when the application of the void status proc. The void status effect creates a miniature bullet attraction bubble centered precisely on the body part the enemy that took the initial hit. Now think about what happens when you combine that interaction with Mag's Magnetize. When you activate Zara's Whisper and fire a pellet projectile like the Exergis into a magnetized bubble, every single pellet that strikes an enemy forces a localized void attraction zone to spawn inside your macro magnetized bubble. This creates an absolute mathematical feedback loop. The projectiles get pulled in by magnetized, strike their target, trigger the void proc, and and are then violently redirected by the macro attraction zone back into the enemy's head, completely resetting their orbital path. The bullets are trapped in a premature infinite loop of redirection, spinning and bouncing endlessly within the sphere long after you stop firing your weapons. This creates a self-sustaining vortex of passive physical damage that acts as an unpassable defensive barrier. Any fresh enemy that steps into the radius of the bubble is instantly caught in the pre-existing whip of infinite flying projectiles and rips them to pieces without you even needing them to pull the trigger a second time. It's an absolute master class of geometric logic. And yes, if you're curious to know, it double dips. Something similar to Raw. Generation 3 is the ultimate survival safety net, the tactical comfort engine. For this layout, we are subsuming Grendel's Nourish over her first ability, and since Mag is an incredible active caster frame, operational loop demands constant maintenance of a second, third, and fourth to maintain a total crowd control and keep her shield gates fully topped off. In highly dense density steelpath missions, Managing that heavy energy drain can become a major psychological friction point if your resource spawns drop off, and Nourish completely eliminates this bottleneck in your gameplay. When you activate Nourish, a massive scaling multiplier to all incoming energy gains from any source. Because we are running two Tauforged purple shards for an automatic equilibrium effect, the energy multiplier from Nourish interacts directly with our health orb pickups. A single health orb printed by the environment doesn't just fill a minor chunk of your power bar, it completely fills the maximum energy capacity instantly. Furthermore, Nourish imbues your weapons and your active abilities with a flat viral damage, while releasing a defensive viral pulse whenever Mag takes a direct hit to a shield. This means that every time you polarize or detonate a magnetized sphere, you automatically forcing viral priming status procs across the entire tile set. And since viral status multiplies all direct damage dealt to health up to 325%, you essentially granting your entire kit a massive automated damage boost while rendering your energy economy completely unbreakable. It is pure, unadulterated comfort. Finally, we arrive at configuration 4, the Breeze Surge ability Nuke. This is our absolute endgame caster configuration, built specifically for players who want to clear level cap tile sets cleanly through raw ability scaling, without relying on their weapons whatsoever. For this setup, we are subsuming Wisp Research directly over our first ability. The mechanical synergy between Research and Max Kit is completely broken because of how it interacts with the perimeter armor stripping. Research blinds enemies in a massive radius, causing them to emit blinding surge sparks when they take damage. These sparks deal a radiation damage and feature a massive scaling damage multiplier that targets nearby enemies. Now look how we force these mechanics to compound. First, we cast Research to blind and prime the entire room. Immediately after, we cast Fracturing Crush. Because our ability strength sits comfortably past 134% threshold, Crush permanently strips 100% of the armor from every single enemy in the radius. When Crush slams down those unarmored enemies into the dirt, it inflicts a heavy impact damage. This sudden instance of damage instantly forces every single blinded target to release a wave of high velocity surge of sparks. Because the enemies have zero armor remaining, those sparks bypasses all damage resistance calculations entirely, dealing pure unmitigated damage directly to their health pools. Best of all, surge sparks that gets released inside or near the magnetized bubble as are drawn straight into the vortex. Multiplying the bubble's damage over time accumulation metric, which then triggers more damage, more printing sparks. It's like fireworks basically. It creates a cascading nuclear chain reaction of blinding energy that loops completely until every single life sign on your UI is wiped out from existence. It is the ultimate manifestation of a zero slap ability scaling. Alright, so instead of showing a short clip of every single build, and since a majority of them works exactly the same, maybe for a few nice fun factors here and there, I've decided personally that I will show Xata's Whisper with my Exergis and my Sonical, and then we have Trados as a utility static for moving faster across the rooms. We are currently in Steel Path mod, and let's have some fun. We use the third ability first. You do this. And there you have it. It is the ultimate gameplay loop. And you guys just saw that. I immediately shield gated without even trying. And I want you guys to see how much damage we do with our magnetized bubble. Millions of damage. Absolutely catastrophic. It's amazing. Medical optimized configurations, an unbreakable Sentinel shield matrix, and an absolutely zero meta slap. The Mag Prime structural blueprint is officially archived within the Academy vaults, completely locking in our definitive Masterclass trilogy. Pick up the specific flavor that matches your heart's basic desire and go cause absolute orbital collapse in the steel path. If this lesson helped you see through the underlying matrix behind the snapshot strength calculations, infinite bullet redirection loops, and unmitigated search box nuking, make sure to smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and leave a comment letting me know. Are you taking the Sovereign Raw setup into your daily runs, or are you breaking the game's code with the infinite void bubble layout? Don't forget to join over 400 fellow Digians in our Discord community linked right down below. As we officially blast past our milestones, class is officially dismissed. I'll see you in the next lesson, legends. A peace. A bye bye now.